Have you ever felt like the ground is shifting beneath your feet? In your industry or maybe even in your own career? Well, today we're going to dig into this powerful idea from the legendary Intel CEO Andy Grove, how you can not just survive, but actually thrive when the fundamental rules of the game completely change. So let's start with a number, $475 million. Now, this isn't a company's valuation or some big venture capital investment. Nope. This is the price tag for one single, incredibly painful lesson learned by one of the most successful companies on Earth.
Because that's what this giant number really stands for. It's the price you pay when you just fail to see that the world and what your customers expect from you has changed right under your nose. So, what the heck happened?
All right, let's set the scene. Picture it. It's 1994. Intel is absolutely crushing it. Their Intel Inside jingle is everywhere. The Pentium chip is the king. But a tiny little problem, something being discussed in the quiet corners of the early internet, is about to explode into a very big and very, very public headache.
This timeline really shows you how a small spark turned into a raging inferno, and fast. You have this minor technical flaw, something that honestly would affect very, very few people in the real world, but it became a total PR nightmare. So why? Because the rules of the game had changed. See, Intel had successfully branded itself to everyday consumers, and now those consumers had a voice. The second a huge customer like IBM slammed on the brakes, it was game over. Intel had no choice but to replace every single chip, which led to that staggering $500 million hit. Going through an experience that painful forced Andy Grove to really think and to develop a whole framework for understanding these moments. He gave them a name, Strategic Inflection Points. It's that one critical moment when everything you thought you knew about your business is suddenly completely up for grabs. This quote from Grove himself just nails it. Imagine you've spent your whole life mastering the game of chess. You know every move, every strategy, and then one day the rules change, and pawns can suddenly move like queens. All your old strategies, they're instantly worthless. That is a strategic inflection point. The old playbook is toast, and you have to write a new one, like yesterday. So what causes one of these massive shifts? Grove called it a 10x change. This is some kind of new force that is so powerful, literally 10 times more powerful than what you're used to dealing with, that it just rewrites all the rules of competition. All of a sudden, the things that made you successful might not matter at all. And here's the really scary part. This 10x force can come from anywhere. It could be a new competitor that's 10 times faster or cheaper. It could be your supplier who suddenly jacks up prices. Or it could be a massive shift in customer demands, just like Intel saw with the Pentium crisis. The threat can even come from a company that makes a product that works alongside yours. The point is, you have to be paranoid about all of them because you never know where the next big hit is coming from. Okay, so you realize you're in an inflection point. Now what? Grove laid out a two-phase approach. And the first phase, it's kind of weird. It's all about embracing the confusion, what he called navigating the valley of death. Let's look at how Intel themselves did this years before that Pentium mess. Back in the early 80s, Intel was facing a full-blown identity crisis. Memory chips, that was their soul. It was the business they were born from, but they were getting absolutely crushed by the competition and losing a ton of money. On the other hand, the data was screaming that the future was in this other thing, microprocessors. But making that switch meant they'd have to kill the very business that made them who they were. And believe me, it was not an easy decision. The leadership team was deep in denial. They were emotionally attached to memory chips. This created what Groves called strategic dissonance, this really dangerous gap where what management was saying they were doing just didn't match what the company was actually doing on the ground. It's a classic sign that you're stuck in that valley of death. So, what's the answer when you're in this chaotic phase? Well, it's not what you'd think. It's not about the CEO coming down from the mountaintop with a stone tablet. Grove's advice was radical. Let chaos reign. Encourage intense debate. Argue. Let people try things. The right path forward isn't going to come from one person's brilliant idea. It's going to emerge from the clash of different ideas and from the real-world experiences of the people on the front lines. But, and this is a really important but, that chaos can't last forever.
After a while, a new path starts to become clear. And this is where the leader's job does a complete 180. It's time to rein in that chaos and commit hard.
This is the crucial pivot. You have to shift from listening to leading. The time for debate is over. Your team, your organization, they're exhausted and confused from wandering in that valley of death. They are desperate for clarity. This is the moment a leader has to step up and give them a clear, simple, and powerful vision for the future.
So what does that leadership look like? Well, first, you spell out the new vision with absolute clarity. And that also means being clear about what you are not going to do anymore. Then, you have to put your money where your mouth is. You aggressively move your resources, your best people, your cash, to support that new direction. And finally, you go. You execute with total conviction. No hedging your bets.
And when you navigate this process the right way, the results can be just dramatic. I mean, look at this transformation. Intel went from nearly failing in a market they basically created to becoming the undisputed king of a new one. They changed their entire identity and built one of the most powerful brands on the planet. This is what happens when you confront an inflection point head on.
Now, this whole framework isn't just for massive billion-dollar companies. Andy Grove argued it's just as crucial for something way more personal, your career. Because when you really think about it, you are the CEO of your own professional life.
I absolutely love this quote. It just changes how you see everything, right? It means you're the one who's responsible for looking out at the horizon, for understanding all those competitive forces, and for making the tough strategic calls to make sure you succeed in the long run. So take a second and really ask yourself this. Is there a 10x change happening in your industry right now? Is some new technology or a shift in business models making your skills a little less valuable? Do you feel like you're in that valley of death with that strategic dissonance between what you're doing every day and where you know you probably need to go?
Here is how you can apply Grove's paranoid mindset to your own life. Constantly run little mental fire drills. Ask yourself, what would I do if my job disappeared tomorrow? Gather intel. Read. Talk to people. Go to events. And just like Intel let chaos reign, you need to experiment a little. Take a class. Volunteer for a new type of project. And then, most importantly, when you see that new path emerging, you have to act. Don't let denial keep you stuck in the past.
Ultimately, what this is all about is a shift in perspective. An inflection point doesn't have to be some terrifying threat. It can actually be the single greatest opportunity for growth you'll ever have. It's the catalyst that forces you to adapt, to learn, and to become way more resilient than you were before.
So I'll leave you with this question to think about. Look ahead. What is that big 10x change that's looming out there for you, for your company, or for your entire industry? Because by being just a little bit paranoid today, you can be the one who not only survives it, but actually ends up thriving because of it.